Hi, welcome to another episode of Ham Radio on the Go. And today, I'm going back to the university, Ham Radio University. Join us. All right, welcome back to the episode. Let's get right to it. This one is a good one. We're out on the go. We're out in Long Island University for Ham Radio University 2026, which is an ARRL event. It's the New York City Long Island section convention. It's dubbed Ham Radio University, a day of fun, a day of learning, and a day of camaraderie. So we're here. It's a beautiful day, January. It's about 41 degrees, cloudy skies, no snow on the ground. So that's what I mean, a good day in January in New York. So let's go inside Ham Radio University and check it out. Okay, we made our way inside Ham Radio University. This is the check-in desk. We have media present. That's the club room. We'll go in there a little bit later on. Okay, we're on our way to our first seminar. Beautiful campus here, LIU. Should be that building over there, the auditorium. It's going to be the opening presentation for HRU 2026.
To Ham Radio University 2027, but for 2026, Ham Radio University, which are 27th year doing this. That's amazing. I've been to every single one of them, and it just gets better and better and better. And this year, by no exception. The only difference that we have here, let me introduce myself. I'm Jim Deasy, W2KFV. I'm section manager here for New York City Long Island section, for those that don't know me. If you want to start throwing tomatoes, I'll duck. You throw them at that guy over there. Okay. And make a couple of introductions to people that are here. Before we start that,
Microphone.
yeah, you can't hear me?
You
You can't hear me?
There's a wireless one.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, you want
I
can't carry, I don't have 3 hands. We'll put these. All right. Okay, so here we are before we get started. We had a couple of problems this year with HRU. Our chairman, it was Tom Karuba, KA2D, he came down really ill, had some major surgery done. He's doing fine now, and everything worked well. Our second in command in this case was Mel Granick. He'll be here later. His wife is really sick, so he's taking care of her. So we had to go to the third string. Okay. And we have Dennis, AH2O, running the ship, and he's doing a pretty good job. It didn't sink yet. Okay, so we're doing pretty good, and the committee's done real well, so we all like to thank you. HRU was started by Phil Lewis and MUN. He had a vision 27 years ago, started it, and he did a good job, started way out east in Babylon sometime, and it all worked out well. But what we're going to talk about today a little bit is just, there's a lot of different forums here. We have a couple of deep dive sessions here. We have a VE session for those that want to increase or improve their licenses. And a lot of different things here. We have a deep dive POTA activation. I think POTA's a good thing. Everybody do POTA here? Mm-hmm. A lot of them, right? Okay. So I do it and I don't do it. So, I get in there and out of there, but that's all right. But a lot of the things do it. But this is still the greatest hobby in the world. And people are going to say you shouldn't call it a hobby because it's professional. Well, there's two sides to it. It's professional and it's a hobby. Professional, we'll talk about that later. We're going to areas, races and stuff like that. But anyway, as a hobby, we're on here, we can talk to people all across the world. And the biggest thing that we have to do is got to encourage, and we have to engage our young people into the hobby, because it is really great. And you know, especially we're getting a little bit older, and you know, who's going to take over from that? All right, that's how we are. So come talk to me if you want at the ARRL forum desk, or the ARRL desk in the club room. All the clubs, well, some of the clubs from Nassau County here, we have 39 of them in Nassau County. I should say from the section, from New York City Long Island section, we have 39 clubs, and we have a few of them there. We have a whole bunch of nice people, and everybody wants to help you out. So if you're really interested in the clubs, please stop by at their tables and talk. As we get started here, I would like to introduce Division Director, Hudson Division Director, Ed Wilson, QXDD. He said $10 PayPal. You don't have to clap. Just send him $10 PayPal. And then we have, what else we have here? We have a Vice Director here. Where is my Vice Director? Where he is, right there today. And right now I'm going to turn it over to Ed, and he's going to give you a little more on that. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out and supporting Ham Radio University. Like Jim said, this is the 27th year of it. This is my second year involved, and I'm very excited to be here. As a division director, I would just want to let everybody know that this is the year of the club, as per the ARRL. And here at Ham Radio University, we do have a very diverse club room across the way, so please make sure you stop down there. Do we have any new hams here, licensed less than a year? Well, you're already a member of the club, thank you. So it's Daniel up front. He's a brand new presenter. He's a brand new ham. He's licensed less than a year. I think coming up in April is going to be a year. February, all right. So almost a year. And he's out here. He's going to do a presentation this morning about Meshtastic. Meshtastic is a buzzword that you may or may not have heard, but it's about mesh networking that uses 915 megahertz. The good thing about Meshtastic is it's not really ham radio. It's a wireless technology, and it gets some of the younger people involved. So you might want to check that out. It's been used throughout the country for some emergency communication stuff as well. I also want to point out to Everton in the back, KB2ZZT. I'm going to ask everybody if you can give Everton a big round of applause before I tell you why. Everton is a school teacher at Staten Island Technical High School, and Everton has licensed over 600 students. 600 in the last 18 months. Everton happens to have a bit of his crew here. Is this part of the robotics team?
This is part solar car and part of
Awesome. So Everton will be doing a presentation at 11 a.m. about some of his experiences being a ham radio operator and a teacher. He's been a graduate of 2 different modules of the American Radio Relay League's Teachers Institute for Wireless Technology. It's a great program. I'll be doing a little talk about that at 10 a.m. if anybody wants to stop in and take a hear about what I have to say and about how I think that this is going to help pave the way for the future of radio. So I also want to thank, I saw there were some people here from the New England division who came down from Connecticut. There are a bunch of guys in the back of the room, so. And in the middle, so thank you guys for coming down and supporting us. We really appreciate it. You too? Awesome, thank you. Back to the club thing. If you're not a club member, I think you should really seriously consider going down and checking out some of the clubs. Do a little club shopping, because the clubs are the backbone of amateur radio, and we need a strong club base to help the hobby get along here. I'll be floating around most of the day. I'll be between the 3 talks I'm doing this morning. I'll be across the way at the ARRL booth, and I'll be at the Suffolk County Radio Club booth. So if anybody wants to sit down and talk and hear about some of the great things that I've been involved in, building clubs and helping other clubs build up within the division, feel free to stop by. Go out there, have fun today, check out the various talks. There's a little bit of something for everyone. And most importantly, thank you for coming down and supporting this great event. And hopefully, Ham Radio University 2027 will be the home of the Hudson Division Convention next year, so maybe we'll expand it a little bit. Does anybody have any questions about anything going on today or need any directions?
Hi, my name is Daniel. I go by amateur radio call sign W2DIY, and I'm giving a talk on Meshtastic today.
All right, terrific. You got a full house. Can't wait to hear the presentation. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, the room 3 that was scheduled to be Meshtastic went beyond capacity, so we're back in the auditorium for the mesh presentation.
I'll get more into me in a second. This is going to be very laid back. If you have any questions at any point, please interrupt me. But huge disclaimer, as with most of us in the room that do have Meshtastic devices, I'm no expert. I'm still learning every single day. This is new technology, so I don't have every answer to your question. So if you have, please interrupt me at any point. Feel free to do that. So, who am I? Well, my name's Daniel, amateur radio call sign W2DIY. I am a part-time college senior studying radio and television broadcasting. I'll be going into my last semester in 2 days, actually. Monday, I start school again, so yeah. Made it through college, look at that. I'm a full-time thinker of things. My brain runs all the time, even when I'm asleep. Way too many thoughts in this small little head of mine. And I've been a licensed amateur radio operator since February of 2025. And I have been tinkering with Meshtastic since August of 2025. And I've been figuring out this world since 2004. So that's me. So let's go over what we will hopefully learn today. Hopefully, keyword there. So we're going to go over what Meshtastic actually is, how it works in simple terms, call it, and I'll give you the simple definition as I had ChatGPT explain like I'm 5 to me, because the textbook version did not make any sense to me. Then we'll talk about what it's great at, what it's not so great at, and how you can get started on any budget. Before we get started, I know I hear no's going off because the mesh is alive today. How many of you guys already own a Meshtastic device? Okay, a handful of you, okay. Now how many of you are actively using your Meshtastic device? See, that's why I asked 2 different questions. So hopefully you'll get a better understanding of Meshtastic today, how it works, and if you're not already owning a device, how you can get started for relatively cheap. Very 100% community-driven and open source. So in simpler terms, Meshtastic turns these tiny little low-cost devices into their own long-range, off-grid texting network without the need of cell service, Wi-Fi, or the internet. It is built and maintained entirely by the community, and anyone can use it or contribute to it. Now, Meshtastic comes in all different sizes. Yes, what's up?
Dumb question, what does LoRa mean?
No dumb questions. LoRa is, I put it somewhere. Actually, I have that in the next slide. We're getting there. Let's see. Yeah, what is LoRa? There we go. I don't have the little fancy view over here, so I forget what I put in this in order, but I knew I had it somewhere. So LoRa, to answer your question, is a proprietary chirp spread. There we go. I'm not even trying to read this. LoRa is a proprietary chirp spread spectrum modulation format owned by Semtech Corporation. If you want to read the rest of that, you can. Based on how I got to that first sentence, I think I'll just skip to the simple explanation of it. So LoRa is a radio technology that lets small little devices send tiny amounts of data, like text messages or location, over long distances using very minimal amounts of power. So you're not going to be streaming any video with it, you're not going to load any web pages with it, but you can reach miles away even with obstacles in the way. And that makes it perfect for exactly what Meshtastic is built on: off-grid messaging, tracking, and low bandwidth communication. Answer your question? Good? Perfect. Now, let's make a really big differential right here, because Meshtastic and LoRa are not the same thing. Meshtastic is one project built on top of LoRa with a focus on people communicating with people instead of machines talking to machines. So the two here are not the same. LoRa is the infrastructure basically, and Meshtastic is what enables you to use that infrastructure. So LoRa powers way more than just Meshtastic. You may have heard of Mesh Core, which is another type of these mesh systems. That is something else that is also up and coming, similar to Meshtastic. Works very similarly, but the way that I say it is find what's popular in your area and stick to that, because the only way these meshes work is with people. Each device, so each individual device, some of you guys have this one. I have some more examples later, but this is my little Meshtastic node that I have today with me. Looks like a little BlackBerry. kind of cool, because I don't even think I was alive when BlackBerry was still relevant. So, kind of cool to go back in time with this one. But each Meshtastic device sends small packets of data, like text or location, using LoRa's long-distance signals. Now, every node is able to relay messages for other nodes and allowing your messages to hop across the mesh until it reaches destination. So, in simple terms, my mesh right here can send a message, it's gonna bounce off of somebody else's to get farther out of this room. So, although I might not be able to connect to somebody in, let's say, room 3, which hopefully no one's in there because we're in here now, I can send a message right now, and if it's not gonna reach there by itself, one of your nodes in here, for you guys that have them, it will bounce off and hopefully get to them. That's the hope and goal, and that's why this relies so heavily on people. But one of the last things here, community or emergency support. It's a perfect backup when networks overloaded or down. I know there's some local RACES and ARRL groups in Suffolk County that have been testing out with Meshtastic when they're doing different events and everything. So as to how they work, I would have to ask and see. I know Ed is someone I have to talk to who gave our introduction. Oh, in here actually. He gave the introduction in here earlier. So I definitely want to ask him how that's been working with their ARRL and RACES group. But it's great as a backup for when you don't have cell service, when you're in areas that may not have good cell reception. Now, what is it bad at? Because we know this is new technology, it's not going to be perfect. And it has some flaws that it's not so good at. So encryption is one of those things. So yes, this is off-grid, and yes, if you buy one of these things, it's going to assign you a four letter number combo of what it is unless you change it. Somebody on here, let's see if I can find one really quickly. There's one on here that is 9AAC. I do not know who 9AAC is. Now, if you look at my Meshtastic comes up as DIY to go along with my call sign. So you might be able to put 2 and 2 together, like if you're in this room right now and see me talking on the mesh, then you know it's me. But I don't know who 9AAC is. So in that terms, you are safe, you have a little bit of protection because your identity is hidden. But in terms of actual encryption, Meshtastic supports encryption, but it's not designed for highly secure or sensitive communication. There's already numerous exploits, including spoofed identity, replay attacks, denial of service attacks that have already been proven against Meshtastic. So, although there is encryption that can be enabled in Meshtastic, it's not super reliable. So, you might be better off texting instead of using Meshtastic, because this stuff can get picked up by really anyone. Also, with Meshtastic devices, you are contributing to the mesh. So, as you can see right now, if any of you guys are on the mesh, right now it tells me that there is 27 nodes online that I am able to pick up from my little receiver here. So 27 people that I'm able to bounce off of and send messages through. Now, if you're in my area, in the South Shore of Suffolk County, right now, I don't really have a lot of nodes that hit my area. Now, what can I do to change that? Well, I can put up my own node. I can get people that I know around me to put up nodes. And that's the point of being a mesh network. It's not necessarily reliable because of the fact that it's so new right now. The hope and the goal is by educating people about Meshtastic, we'll get it more out there, there'll be more nodes that pop up, and then it can become a more reliable service. But as it stands right now, when you get home today, for all of you that have devices or any of you that plan to buy devices, go home, turn on your device, and see how many nodes you pick up. Your area might have none. You might have 5, you might have 10. If you're in Manhattan, you might see 100 of them. Manhattan is very popular with the Meshtastic right now. So it really relies on people. So the only way we get the mesh to grow and to survive is by getting more people involved through things.
Popular years ago as a similar type of functionality, right, where we hop from one node to another. Bulletin board systems existed at that time, message traffic.
This is a lot more, I'd say, a lot more bare bones than AX25 is. AX25, I think you need a lot more equipment to really get into it and to really keep it reliable. Whereas with Meshtastic, you can really get started relatively cheap. I'll go over some options in a little bit about how you can start from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. And every product that I'll show will be a node that you can get on the air with. Whether it's $100 or my cheapest one on the list I think is $9. So there's really a low barrier to entry. So yeah, it's a lot easier to get started with Meshtastic, and it's a lot simpler of something of a protocol to understand and use.
Is it mobile optimized? Like, is it designed to do like for people on the move?
It can be used, but that goes back to the reliability aspect. It depends on if there's nodes in the area. So I know, I'll go back to Ed. I know Ed was showing me not that long ago, he has a mount that he sits on the top of his car. It's a magnet mount he puts on the top of his car, and that's a Meshtastic node. It's powered by solar power. He puts it on there when he drives, he just sees what nodes he can hit. And for that, he's had some ups and downs with it. It works sometimes, it doesn't work other times. It fully depends on the coverage area that he's in and how many people are using Meshtastic in that area. But there's a very simple answer to it, and that's because the good parts of Meshtastic are really good. So we go over the bad things not to make you stray away from Meshtastic. We go over the bad things to let you know what you're going into. With any technology, there's the ups, there's the downs. We tell you the bad so that you know what you're going into. But the good stuff works really well. If you hear all the beeping that was going off earlier, that was the mesh working. That was people messaging on the mesh. That was people talking on the mesh. It works, it's great. But you know, there is those bad things that you have to be aware about. The great thing is Meshtastic is super affordable, it's easy to get into, and it's super flexible enough that it can grow with you. So if you want to start with, let's say, a $9 piece of equipment and later keep building it out till it's, I don't know, a $50 piece of equipment, you could do that. It's expandable, it can grow with you, and it can grow with your learning. At a hacking convention. And thank you, yeah. I now own a soldering iron, which means I'm basically a pro. So this was the first thing I ever soldered. This is also a Meshtastic node. So going back to talking about how these meshes can come in all different shapes and sizes, this is a small one. This one has a screen, it has a GPS, it has a little antenna. I think this one can even do weather data, I think, something like that. But this was the first thing I ever soldered, and this was my first ever Meshtastic node. And it's very simple to get into, so if you want to tinker around and put something together like this, you could do that. Or if you don't want to keep messing around with this and realize that you can't figure out how it works, you go spend money on this, and you turn it on, and it works. So you can build stuff, or you can just buy stuff that are ready to go. $81.66 for something that you can turn on, and it works perfectly ready to go. And it has features like GPS, it has a built-in battery, a touchscreen, and my favorite feature, it looks like a BlackBerry. Node, so it has a 5-watt solar panel, and you can put this outdoors. So this is my next project actually, that I want to put one up at home because, like I mentioned, the mesh in my area isn't super strong. I can get messages out, but I want to make it stronger. So I want to get one of these outside, get my house meshed up, I guess I'll call it, and get my area more on the mesh. So this is my next project, and that's going to be $70. Going down the list, this is another one that runs Meshtastic perfectly fine. The LilyGo T Echo, it's about $50. And don't worry about writing all these down. I made a nice little QR code for you to scan at the end and all that fun stuff. So don't worry about writing all this down now. But this one has a GPS built in, has a nice e-paper display, also a built-in battery. This is another popular one. I think you get the point here though. And then you get down to the $9.90 option. And it's the size of your thumb. It has no fancy features like GPS, but it will run Meshtastic. So once again, all budgets, all price ranges, you can get into Meshtastic for relatively cheap. Or if you get one with a touchscreen like this and a keyboard, you can do it entirely off of here. But with one like this, where there's no keyboard, you get a phone app. There's no license required, so unlike with amateur radio, there is no license requirement. You can let your mom, your dad, your dog, your sister, your brother, your grandkid, whatever, you name it, they can get on Meshtastic today. It has a license option you can enable. The downside to it is you lose basically any encryption, or you lose a lot of features with it. But the way it works is you can actually assign your amateur radio call sign to your Meshtastic. So your mesh will come up as your amateur radio call sign. When you link it, it's really just a perk of saying, I'm an amateur radio operator using Meshtastic, using the radio. There's really no benefit in my personal experience and from what I've heard just by talking around. It's better to really just keep it independent of itself. You have something you want to add on?
No, so I still haven't got a straight answer yet.
So you can hop right on there, and that's basically an ham radio term where you call CQ. That's the best way to put it. This is just the unknown of who's out there. Anyone that has a node that can pick up your message, they will receive it in that default channel. But if you want those private group chats, very simple to get them started up. You just make them in the phone app or on your node itself, and you can share them with a simple QR code or link, so you can all jump into the same channel without having to worry about all the little settings that come with it. The easiest way that I put this on how you want to take your mesh. It works great for basic messaging and location sharing, like we said, but if you like tinkering, there's a lot more that you can add onto it. So, for example, this one that I have up here has a sensor. I don't remember what type of sensor, but it has some sort of sensor on here. So you can add sensors, weather sensors, air quality sensors, lighting, and more. You can add displays. You can make it its own standalone hardware like this one is. You can do automations and have integrations, which is something I have not even tried looking into. It gets very confusing very quickly. Here, so I'm gonna slow it down. But let's quickly just go over some of the things we learned today, and if there's questions, we can go over some questions. What's up?
What's your experience on setting a private, like a chat?
Say it one more time?
Like a private node or like a private group?
The chats are very simple. So, like I said, Meshtastic has that app that you can download. On the app, it's a very simple walkthrough. One person has set up the settings. After that, it's as simple as sharing a QR code or a link with friends and family. So it's very easy to do. You just do that all on the app. Once you do that, share it, and you should be good to
So
go.
the sharing, so if I wanted to share with the guy in front of me.
Yep.
I have my QR code here, and he's got to scan it.
Exactly.
So you've got to be close to the person you're sharing.
So that's also what you have the link for too. You can just, like, if you want to text the link to somebody or whatever.
Okay.
The idea of the nodes having those private channels, you kind of have to pre-plan them a little bit. Like, you can't really put them, you can put them together on the fly, but it's better to have them prepared ahead of time and then share that link, share that QR code, and you can use it with friends, family, and whoever else.
So
Around 15 megahertz is a range, is where we're at.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It uses the ISM band.
Alright, but that falls within the handbands.
Secondaries, handband secondary.
Yeah.
Because the reason I'm getting at that, when we were talking about using this for POTA, you put the frequency in ham 2K, it just shows up as 33 centimeters. But this generally doesn't tell you exactly where you're transmitting.
So there's different slots of frequencies. That's something that's a little bit more in-depth. I haven't dived too much into it. By default, all Meshtastic nodes are programmed to be on frequency slot 20. So out of that entire range that Meshtastic uses, 20 is like the default that all devices are typically set up to use.
Okay.
As for the exact frequency, I forget off the top of my head. I think someone said 906. Yeah.
75.
Yeah.
So it is 906. I need to know that.
Yeah, so that's the frequency that most Meshtastic devices are going to be on, although you can change that in your settings.
Thank you.
Yes?
What is your experience with hooking it up to the internet, the MQTT protocol?
I haven't used that too much. I tried to look into it a couple weeks back. I got really lost really quickly.
Okay.
So that just might be my own error, but that's just with my own tinkering. Got to figure out some things. So yes, say change the region that you're in if you're out of the country, just because different regions obviously have their different band plans and all that stuff. So I know if you go like buy a Meshtastic right now, on their website, not Meshtastic itself, but the manufacturer's website, they actually sell different ones depending on the region you're going to be in, where it will come pre-flashed with that firmware on it. But it's as simple as going into your phone app and just switching the region to where you are, and it will correctly switch it.
All right, this is the club room. We got various clubs from the New York City, Long Island section. And then there's a break room behind it. We break for lunch. But right now, there's still more seminars coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Got the game on. Yeah, Kings County. The Garden School. I think that's in Queens. Yankee Clipper DX Club. CW Club. Air Force Mars. Got Aries. Event Hams. ARC. Great South Bay Club. Long Island Mobile Amateur Radio Club. The ARRL table is packed. Suffolk County and Nassau County. That's the club room. Just a few of the clubs in the New York City, Long Island section. An SDR. Got a Meshtastic node.
Figure it's maybe 50% efficient. So it's going to suck down 200 watts from the power supply.
Okay.
200 watts divided by 12 volts is 16, 18 amps.
But
something like that.
it was just mentioned, if I turn the power down to, say, 25 watts, I could run that 8-watt amp reasonably well?
That depends on the rig, because when you run the power down, you're not necessarily changing the operating point of the radio. So, like I have an Elecraft K3, and when I run my rig down from 100 watts down to 25 watts, the power that it takes off the power supply does not go down by a factor of 4, because the biasing is the same. The biasing on the final amp is. They continue to bias it as if you were running 100 watts. If they were a little smarter with the operating point, where if you turn the power down to 25 watts, it rebiases the finals accordingly, then your efficiency you'd maintain that efficiency and you would get less power.
I was trying to save, I have a second location, and I have an 8 amp. They also have a 20, I think it's a 20 amp. So I'm trying everything I can to use that 8 amp to get away from buying another power supply.
I'm gonna throw two things
The
out.
only thing you might want to consider, if you were between a rock and a hard place and you had to get on the air and make that work,
Yeah.
is if you got like a marine battery or something, and use the power supply as a flow charger and let the battery run the radio. Because you're only going to be transmitting, if you're transmitting less than half the time,
Yeah.
then, you know, while you're transmitting, the battery's doing the work, and then when you're in receive, the receiver's drawing maybe an amp, and the other 5 amps from the supply will flow charge the battery.
A 30 amp.
So it's possible.
$20.
But if you're gonna be really serious and spend a significant amount of your time on the air with a radio, my personal recommendation would be invest in a decent power, in a decent like 25 amp
Gotcha.
supply. You're gonna spend maybe $130, $140 on
I
a
even
power
was saying
supply.
120.
And it'll
RFI issues in my house, because at that time we were still on cable and there were a lot of leaks in the neighborhood. So I was running just 10 watts in a dipole, and I've since upgraded because now we have a different situation with cable TV now, Optimum and digital lines. So auroras will occur for the next year or two. When you go to spaceweather.com, you will see some indication of possible geomagnetic activity that may occur in the next couple of days. Usually when the KP reaches 6 or 7, good indication that some kind of aurora activity may occur. Oops. So, I do have a graph of it. So let's say this is me in Long Island, New York. I have my beam antenna when I have a beam pointing up towards the north, pointing up to Canada, and the signal reflects back to wherever station can hear. So I have worked on 2 meter aurora. Sometimes the activity gets very high. I once worked, this is my funny story about aurora. I was working in Hop Park for many years, and there was a major aurora event. And this is the middle of the day. And I worked a station that was on Long Island, 15 miles west of me. And my signal off the aurora with the distortion was much louder than me pointing direct at them. It was just crazy. And you're hearing both tones, the normal line of sight signal plus the aurora. So it was a really weird effect. And it made for a very interesting day. And he was laughing, when we, sent emails about it. The fact that I was able to work them either direct or via the aurora path. So you just never know what you will encounter. on spaceweather.com, they give a plot of the aurora. And in October of last year, it was so intensive. You could see the aurora blanket extended into Long Island, so we were right in the extended zone to be able to make all these contacts. There was a pretty significant event, but you could see it didn't quite reach into Long Island, so there's no contacts to be made. It's all depending on how low this goes for you to be able to work by a backscatter mode. So I do expect some more events to come. There are ionosound digital stations around the world. This one is in Millstone Hill, Massachusetts. And here's the plot right here at about 100 kilometers, 70 miles up. And the aurora blanket, extended well into the critical frequency range of about 9, which is enough to propagate on 6 meters.
That main trunk recorder is openmhz.com. This is a very beautiful site. If you've ever had to dig through Procrastify and you want to punch your computer, this is very, very clean in terms of finding a system you want to listen to, clicking on that system, and then there are, because it's P25, there are specific filters you can set for the trunking system. So now if you go to openmegahertz.com and you go to the Suffolk County Police Department system in New York, you can then click talk group filtering and then decide, I only live in the 6th precinct, so I want command band, the 6th precinct. I probably want Fres, East and West, just because of whatever. And I probably want aviation. And if you get really, really nosy, there's a detective talk group and there's a car-to-car talk group. So you kind of filter those out. So now you get rid of everything from everything else and you just focus on what you want to listen to. And that's kind of where the beauty comes from when the trunk recorder starts uploading this data to Open Megahertz, because you have this incredible filtering situation. You also have the ability to create events. So if something happens, you can now tag all these transmissions and say create an event, and then it'll download all those files and you can send them to your computer for whatever reason. Whatever you might want to do with that data. So that's what's really, really great about that. So I did give it away a little bit, but once we get to Open Megahertz, this is what I was talking about. We take the Suffolk County PD Long Island and we look at some traffic happening, right? So this looks like unfiltered right now, but Park Police, New York State Police, Command Band, Campus Police, the 6th precinct, that's where I am. And so now you just start to get these files. Now I gave a crop, but down at the bottom is an autoplay. So you can listen to everything that comes through as it comes in on your filters or unfilters, and that gives you the ability to then dig through. And then I play the game of which has the longest transmission, because that's probably the good one. Yeah. So, I'll look on the left. This is a 10-second transmission coming out of Command Band. So if you ever listen to Suffolk County Police, Command Band kicks on and they'll tell all the precincts what another precinct is dealing with, right? So if you're in the 6th precinct and you're only listening to the 6th precinct stuff, but you also tune to the Command Band, then you'll know that the 4th is having a problem, and that's when the car-to-car traffic sometimes starts to kick up, which I don't think is listed in here in this example, but that's what we have, right? So now you start to get a sense for operational activity, efforts around your town, efforts around your county, but mostly just so you know what's going on. None of their encrypted channels are going to get recorded or listed. It's kind of just useless data. There's no information in that transmission that we can see. And if you listen long enough and there is an event, you'll hear them. You'll hear them tell everybody we're moving over to Ops 1 or something like that. And you know that whatever thing you've been listening to is now going away because they're going to move over to a secure channel, which I feel from an operational and security perspective, they absolutely should have some secure communications that don't involve the public. I just don't believe that everything should be. Do you have a question, sir?
Million meters per second, which convert that to feet per second, 984,000 feet per second. So one wavelength is 984 divided by the frequency if you go to megahertz. So a half wave in feet is 492 over F, not 468. So, but for various reasons, and the chalk coat physicists will argue about why this is, and the people that actually empirically put antennas up and cut them to shape will tell you that that's just what it is. They tend to be about 95% of the theoretical length of a half wave in free space. So 95% of 492 is approximately 468. But that's a rule of thumb, and it's going to change. It may change, and it probably will change in different areas. My house in Bayport, which is like a stone's throw away from the Great South Bay, is going to be one thing. Our field day site at Longwood Estate that we've been operating at is going to be something else. If you're up in Stony Brook, it's going to be different. And you're probably going to have to tweak it. So we have to have a way of kind of dealing with that. So here's what I typically like to do, is if I take that 468 over F, you can have a little bit of the antenna drooping down this way. So what I like to do is I make it from here to here. I like to make the antenna a little bit too short, and then I hang some tails on here where when you take into account the tails, it's a little bit too long. So I'm within a pair of dice of getting from too long to too short. Somewhere in the middle is just right. So that's kind of like what I like to do. And if you get it right, you'll be able to get this thing to a nice SWR in the middle of the band, just by cutting these things down. And then you can use your math superpowers to figure out, and an antenna analyzer. You don't need an antenna analyzer to do this, but having one or having a friend that has one can come in handy. Because what you're going to do is you're going to put this thing up and you're going to say, okay, where does this thing resonate? Let's say I want to use my favorite watering hole. What's the hot mode for operating? It seems to be even more popular than phone or CW, FT8. So on 40 meters, you're talking the FT8 watering hole is around 70, 74. So I set this thing up. I do all the calculations for 70, 74. I make this a little too short, a little too long with that. I figure out where the antenna is resonant. If it's resonant right at 70, 74, I'm finished, right? But if it's not, if it's resonant around 69, 99, then it's too long. If it's resonant at 7,300, then it's too short. So
it's important, right? We have to get the basics down. You want to be a good basketball player, you need to have the drills down. So we get into soldering, we get into crimping, all kinds of electrical terminals, and that leads into fabricating things like encoder wires, light and sound systems, general battery wire harnesses, looking at solar cell integration, right? Series versus parallel, how does that affect the power? Oh, you have the same power but different voltages and currents. How do we need that for specific systems? We get into some of that stuff. We get into 3D CAD. It's important to know 3D CAD, to know how things are built. But also, can we use 3D CAD to fabricate parts? Yes, we can, especially for amateur radio, we'll see that. Also some of the basic skills, just simplex communication and net checking, right? Maybe getting your first QSL, but specifically that radio programming and troubleshooting, and that can also include what not to do. What we do is we actually organize an in-house little net, and we have students, they're probably gonna hear somebody else who got it wrong, who doesn't follow procedures, most of them do, so we can kind of get those kinks out. Right, so that's the starter of the skill practice. And of course, we get into programming, robotics, syntax-based stuff, programming, conditional loops, hardware, mechanical systems. And we like to get into Arduino with that because it continues to independent systems. And of course, FCC licensure. And then from there, we get into the larger scale projects, right? And that could be solar powered vehicles. So one of the things that I do, which is kind of fun, is I have students build a basic Tetrix robot. Great platform for those that are interested, very robust, all metal. And so they will build this 12-volt robotic system, and I will tell them, okay, now you need to create a battery harness for this thing, because I eliminate those wires, a whole switch mechanism, now you need to install some other lights. Cool, you've done all that. Now I want you to go through this obstacle course in fully automated fashion. Grab this particular object and deliver it here. You know, something complex, and I have them working on that, they're putting that system together. And then I turn off the battery charging station, and all their batteries die. And what did I say? You guys ready? My bad, what did I say if you didn't finish?
You get a 0.
You fail. And so they scramble, like, what do we do? How do we fix this? And that's when we can take those solar cells we talked about before and design solar systems that are capable of meeting the power requirements. And this can be translated to off-grid, it can be translated to the house and home as well, right? And so we have up here, that's Matthew over there on the other side, and he's checking out his robot where he made a little DIY solar system on top and used a charge controller to make that work. Again, we do that in-house net, right? And we get our crossband going, and we actually will get a little bit deeper and establish some frequencies and CTSS tones and design protocols to make sure, and we design the protocols to make sure that we can do an effective net, because we want to be able to get students to service control operators in case of an emergency, but also so that they can be the control operator for an official net and do it with competency, right? And so we get into QRZ integration there too. Can you effectively manage the net and manage who's on it and know who's on it and learn a bit about them? So very, very difficult task. Something where we're trying to design, fabricate VHF and UHF antennas, and that includes, you know, everything from the elements down to the coax as well. And they need to be able to crimp and solder those materials as well.
Let's get started. Well, welcome here. I hope you're going to enjoy my little presentation. I know for sure I'm going to enjoy the adventure of this DXpediti coming up in a couple of weeks. And so I'm here to tell you about what's going to be starting in February and March this year. This is the expedition to the most remote uninhabited place on Earth. If you're curious and can't sleep tonight, check out the website, 3yankee0kilo.com, which is also the call sign of the expedition. It's the expedition that starts February 1st, which means just a few weeks from now. So this will probably be the last presentation before departing to South Africa in a couple of weeks. It will be amazing because this will be the most expensive and the largest expedition ever in the history of ham radio. With a budget of $1.7 million, this is quite an undertaking. It's a lot more than going to a park and activating POTA, which is exciting as well. It's a lot more than going to the Caribbean, putting a few antennas and running the pilots. This is going to be amazing because we had to hire icebreaker, put a helicopter on it, get pilots and engineers and crew and all that together, convincing them that for money they have to do this for us, take us to Bouvet and back. No way of knowing where Bouvet is because it's so small you can't really find it on the map. And of course, with Google today, it's very easy to get to it. But if you take a look at this map on the right, Bouvet is right there in the South Atlantic Ocean, 1,000 miles north of Antarctica, and about 1,600 miles south of Africa, and Cape Town. You see a few distances here on the left. 8,000 miles from New York. This is quite a distance even for radio waves. And it's far away in a sense that, according to the Book of Records, is the most remote uninhabited place on Earth. It is outside the shipping lanes, so very few, if any, ships pass by this island. So this was, although it's in the South Atlantic Ocean, it's a Norwegian island. It was discovered by a French sailor. In those years, a lot of sailors were looking for whales and the oil that was a precious commodity in those times. So in the 1700s, a guy with a last name Bouvet, a French sailor, saw the island and looked at it and said, well, looks like it's covered 93% by ice and snow. It's not worth getting onto the island. A few attempts have been tried, but finally the Norwegians, almost about 100 years ago, stepped foot on the island and claimed it for the Norwegian crown. And according to Club Log, and most of those expeditions only made a few QSOs. The ones, those expeditions in the 70s were actually technicians that went there to service the weather station on the island. So as you see, they didn't make a lot of QSOs, but I guess there was nothing else to do and they played the radio. Now, the first real expedition was in 1989. They've been there for about 2 months and they made about 47,000 QSOs. That was pretty cool. And most people have Bouvet confirmed by that expedition. Another interesting expedition to Bouvet Island was in 2001. Charles Brady Jr., who was a ham operator, he went to space, he was a Navy captain and also a doctor. He was contracted actually by the Norwegian government to go there and sit on the island for about 2 months for whatever reason, but the point is that while he was there, he made about 8,000 QSOs, mostly SSB. So whoever has an SSB QSO is usually from 2001 by Charles Brady. Actually, an interesting story with him was that he was supposed to be there for 2 months, and after 2 months, the Norwegians and the boat wanted to pick him up as promised, but the weather was not good. They waited a couple of days, a week, a few weeks, and it turned out he had, in the end, ended up staying 3 months on Bouvet. So picture from 1927 when the Norwegians first landed on Bouvet Island. And the interesting part about this old picture is the fact that they landed in exactly, or more or less the same exact spot where we landed 3 years ago, the same exact spot we're going to be landing in about a couple of weeks from now. And the picture on the right is 2 Norwegians that also operated from Cape Fear, which is close to where we land in a few weeks. This is how Bouvet looks like. Very nice, cute penguins on the left. Their colony on the right, that smells very badly because there's at least a couple of feet of excrement. The red stuff that you see there is the fact that their diet is mostly salmon. And the bottom right is where we landed, and these are the fur seals looking at us and trying to make sure we're not invading their territory. Using a sailing vessel. This time we're going to have an icebreaker, pretty nice boat, has a nice diesel engine, and because of that it will take us about a week to get to Bouvet. It will still be not a comfortable ride. You know, the ocean is always wild in that part of the world, and we can't change that, but the bigger boat will probably give us a smoother ride. And I heard they have some saunas there, so maybe we'll have something to do apart from staying in the bathroom most of the time. So once the icebreaker arrives in the vicinity of Bouvet Island, then we're gonna use the helicopter to transport fuel, equipment, and people to the island. It all depends on the weather, of course. If it's too foggy, you can't do anything about it. If it's too windy, you can't do anything about it. If the seas are too rough, you can't do anything about it. Because, you know, it requires a lot of contracts that need to spell out what happens if this happens, what happens if the other thing doesn't happen. So, you know, we're hams. We like to play with the radios and antennas and things like that, but to put together an endeavor like this, you have to actually put a lot of work into a lot more things, like dealing with customs from the different parts of the world, dealing with you know, contracts and insurance and so forth. I mean, do you think there's an insurance company that's going to insure you for if something happens to you in a place where nobody can reach you for at least a week? No, it's complicated. This is how Bouvet looks like. You know, there's a weather station there at the northwestern corner of the island, and most of the expeditions have landed there because it's flat, it's very convenient, easy to land. But the Norwegians said, no, you cannot land there. Why not? Well, they designated that area as a natural habitat because it's flat and nice, and so all the wild animals like to hang out in that area. So they don't want people around there for good reasons. The weather station is all computerized, so there's no one there to go there. And so the Norwegians said, you know, you have to land in the other corner of the island, opposite. And that's where that arrow is pointing out. It's called Cape Fear. You can't really see that there's no ice there. But there's good reason to be landing there. Because in that part of the world, the wind never stops blowing from west to east. So if you're behind this little hill, you're kind of covered from the bad weather, and that makes it more doable for camp survival. A pretty significant number of pages, and most of them tell you what you're not able to do or should not do. Among other things, you cannot leave anything on the island. What that includes is human waste. Now, if you're not good at math or good at math, either way, you can easily calculate that 25 people for 3 weeks on the island generate a lot of human waste, and that needs to be taken out of the island before we leave the island. That's not an easy feat. Luckily, the NASA figured out how to do it on the space station, International Space Station, so we just copied their ideas. There are two different camps. One that will be focused more on North America, and the main camp down the cliff, as you can see in the picture there. What happens is the main camp has quite incredible views towards Europe and Japan, but it's flat and it's pretty large. It allows us to put the tents and all the stuff that we have to bring with us, the incredible amount of water and fuel to be self-sufficient for up to 3 weeks. Why do we have to be self-sufficient? We tested these antennas in different parts of the world. This is a picture from a site in Bulgaria where we tested the beams that we'll be using on Bouvet. It takes a lot of preparation. You know, each and every piece of equipment has to be tested and labeled and properly packed. We're not allowed to bring any paper or cardboard on the island. The wood is very restrictive of what type of wood we can bring on the island. They try to maintain it pristine, and that's why they have a lot of restrictions. Again, you can't just, you know, say I'm going to Bouvet and put a tent and operate from there. It's a lot more to that, and not going to go into many details. I already see a few people falling asleep, so I want to avoid that. These are aluminum masts that were fabricated and sent from Italy. They're pretty sturdy. They've been used at the WRDC, the Radio Olympics. That antenna there, the vertical, actually made 75% of the KSOs 3 years ago from Bouvet. And so this is where, when those two pictures were taken, everything gets packed in these barrels, waterproof barrels. They're very light, but waterproof, and they are used by the fishing industry, and they are a plus for these type of projects. Of course, you have to have everything inside and tied up because the wind can show up unexpectedly, and a lot of stuff will start flying. Separate area, and you open up the window of the tent and look outside, and you say, "Nah, gonna hold it for a little bit." You know, a couple hours later, you repeat the exercise, and you say, "Oh, that looks good." You go there, do your business, and while you're doing that, the storm starts and it's too late to do anything. Sponsors, they donated quite a few radios of all kind. We're going to use them for so that we can set up the 2 camps. We have the ability to put up receive antennas, and we're also going to do satellite. ICOM also gave us VHF radios so we can stay in touch with the boat and between the camps. We also have these walkie-talkies but they go through satellite. It's quite an interesting product that we used also in a previous trip. These are called the ICOM SAT 100. So basically, instead of having a repeater like you normally do on a 2-meter band, the repeater is a satellite. So we stay in touch and use these walkie-talkies and talk to our pilots in North America or in Europe. So these radios will be working right away as we leave Cape Town to be in touch with the pilots and keep up with the news, so the community knows when to sit by the radio and call their offices to call in sick and make sure they don't miss QSOs of the event. We're going to check the power anyway, right? The idea is that the main goal when we go there is to make QSOs. Now, who in this room needs a QSO Bouvet? Wow. Well, come look for me after this, and I'll give you my phone number and bank account. Everything becomes possible afterwards. Snatched a couple of days when no one was home to take over the living room table to set up the computers for the DXpediti. It's a lot of work to set up 15 identical computers and do it the correct way for the expedition, where you have to disable absolutely everything that's not needed except for the hand radio software. New thing for the first time from Bouvet, which is a satellite. Unfortunately, does not reach North America. It's mostly European and Asia and Middle East coverage. Is Qatar Oscar is a satellite that was sent by hand radio people from Qatar. Then we get into small details there. For example, our extensive meals are made out of these so-called MREs, meals ready to eat. For those of you that have been in the military, you know what that is. It's basically a plastic envelope. You cut it open, put hot water, stir for 5 minutes, and then your meal is ready. It has very fancy names like chicken francese or pasta primavera, and as long as you don't look at it, it tastes pretty decent. We have made an understanding with the Hilton hotels, and they suggested a few ways for us how to sleep comfortably on Bouvet. And we did a test in Norway. Basically, we were trying to figure out how to squeeze 6 beds into a tent, and we came up with this. It looks pretty achievable. From different parts of the world, from Italy, from Bulgaria, from Germany, from US. All this equipment has been sent to Norway in Oslo. We purchased a container and we put this equipment together. We tested, including generators. You see here one of our colleagues been testing one of the many Honda generators that we're going to have on the island. All the equipment gets inserted in these waterproof barrels, the blue barrels. And came down in about a couple of weeks, and there we're going to deal with the customs, do some safety training, buy the latest things, put in the water, the fuel on the boat, and we're gonna get ready for the long trip to Bouvet. This is one thing that I haven't mentioned is the team is also planning, if all goes well, this time next year to be on Peter Island, another Norwegian subantarctic island. And so this is how the container are going to be traveling. So from Cape Town goes to Bouvet, then back to Cape Town, then Cape Town to Texas, from there to Pier 1, from Pier 1 back to Norway, and then the equipment goes back to all the sponsors that gave us the equipment. We did a lot of preparations and safety drills and so forth. We have to figure out what to do if this happens, what to do if the other thing happens, you know. It's a lot of work, and some of it is pretty boring, but it has to be done. Some of it is pretty scary, but it has to be done. Some of it is fun, and that has to be done as well. I won't go into much detail, but it's or not. Humans have to be involved because you have to get there, you have to figure out how to get money, you have to work to make money to pay for this type of stuff. So the team is the biggest asset of the DXpediti. If you're curious, go to our website, 3yankee0kilo.com. You click on the pictures and you can get more details on each and every one of us in the team. Some of us have been to a lot of the expeditions. I myself, this will be for me the expedition number 38. So I've been traveling quite a bit. A lot of it is not new for me, but these type of the expeditions always have the unknown and the adventure attached to it. One of the things that I do want to mention is that we have 2 youth operators. One of them is 23, the other one is 27. And the most interesting part is the fact that clubs and organizations around the world actually paid for these 2 operators to join our team. And so there's hope for the younger ones to join this kind of adventure if they really want to. And this is a very good addition to our team. There's not much they can do there for us if we have a heart attack, for example. But you know, if we break a leg, or you know, we have a cut, or we've been sitting on the toilet for too long, there's always something that they can do. So that it's pretty good to have. Now, 2 important people, actually, I would say, from my point of view, the most important people. His name is Peter. Oh, sorry. Peter and Berger. These 2 guys are there. We call them Boy Scouts on steroids because they are basically their job. Actually, they get paid for to take care of scientists going to remote places, scientists which are experts in science, but absolutely know nothing about surviving on a place like Bouvet or Antarctica and so forth. So these people will design exactly the how we will survive on this forgotten place as Bouvet is. We're not going to have time to do any QSOs. And so we hired these global pilots with a salary of $0 to do the heavy work of getting questions from all of you, summarizing them, and sending them to us, letting us know of interesting propagation, or the fact that we haven't worked enough people from Long Island, or the fact that, you know, whatever. The point is, they are the ones that will give us information about what's going on around the world. As you can see, these people are located in different parts of the world, and they're experts of their area. You know, the guy in Thailand obviously knows exactly how the propagation, it's the best time to contact Bouvet is, so he can tell us, hey, guys, they're opening between 8 and 9 o'clock, and so we should pay attention to that. To go to Bouvet, there's a lot of money involved. Our budget is about $1.7 million. Now, just to say that number gives me the shivers. It took a long time to actually raise this type of money, and we're almost there. But most of the equipment that we are using, we're not buying it. Vendors and companies around the world, they are either giving it to us so we can use it and then sell it and recoup some of the expenses. And some of the equipment that's a lot more expensive, for example, the ICOM radios or the amplifiers, they are on loan. So basically when we return, we take that equipment, give it back to the manufacturer and say, big thank you. Close to $25,000. Now that's a lot of money no matter who you ask, you know, it's basically like a nice car. So it's not a free trip for people going there. Some are saying, I'm going to save this for the trip of my life so I can remember it for forever. Now, if you're 70, you know, that doesn't apply too much, but at the same time, you have to pass quite a bit of medical testing in order to join such a DXpedition. So, if you take a look, most of the money of this $1.7 million goes to the boat, the helicopter, the crew, the fuel, and the pilot. So it's basically paid $1.4 million just to get to Bouvet and back, hopefully safely. And that's where most of the money gets spent. And if you take a look, $500,000 from that comes from the team members putting them their own money. So they have a good incentive to have a successful DXpedition. And so that's what keeps the DX alive. Now, the way we were able to raise this $1.7 million, which will make this DXpedition the most expensive one in the history of ham radio, is by joining a private group. Actually, the private group joins us. So we found a bunch of people, 3 of them, that are willing together to pay for half of the price of the DXpedition. And we looked at them and we said, yeah, that's a good deal. And so that's how we're able to finance this DXpedition. Work us, and judging by the amount of hands of people raised who need Bouvet, it's good to check our website. I thank you all that donated and made this project happening. Now, in a couple of weeks, I'll be heading to Cape Town and hope that we will deliver on our promise to make a lot of people happy with QSOs on board. One more thing I would like to mention before I'll take a few questions is that we believe that ham radio needs a little bit of young blood infusion. And to support that, not only with words, we are doing something interesting, which is we will dedicate a couple of hours to make QSOs with young people. We have organized a live streaming and also QSOs through radio with 3 schools from the United States, one in Staten Island, and the coordinator is here, one in Chicago and one in Pennsylvania. Thank you for not sleeping. And I hope to work you, as many of you as possible, and if you have questions, we still have time. Yes?
Okay, that's just a sample of the presentations at the 2026 Ham Radio University, New York City, Long Island, ARRL Section Convention for 2026. A great event. If you missed it this year, don't worry, it'll be back next year, 2027, bigger and better than ever. It's a great event, a lot of camaraderie. ARRL Year of the Club. There were a lot of clubs at the club room, a lot of presenters from your more conventional type of ARRL ham radio presentations to the cutting edge technology of today of Meshtastic and so on. So a great event, great camaraderie, and Ham Radio University 2026 is in the books. I'll be putting out some more content on this great event. Comment below, like and subscribe for future videos of Ham Radio on the Go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone that assisted me, from the section manager to the Hudson Division Director, to all the clubs, especially Suffolk County Radio Club, for sponsoring the event. Everyone did a terrific job. Took a lot of people to put that presentation, to get it off the ground, and it was a great event. Comment below, like, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video. 7-3.